don't share where we're going. We're standing tonight, baby. Hi, I'm Weston. I love talking about the Rangers, and I'm here to talk about Game 7 of the first round of the Stanley Cup playoffs. Rangers win 4-3 in overtime and advance to the second round. Ah, the hell with my voice. This one's a loud one. I'm going to be drinking honey like it's the end of the world. Rangers down 3-1 in the series, rally to win it 4-3 in Game 7. Not just Game 7, but in overtime of Game 7 after you were trailing late in the third period. They did it! Ladies and gentlemen, it is pretty darn easy to live, laugh, and love in these conditions. Man, Game 4, like, I was planning a eulogy for the team, right? You practically, after Game 4, start just looking up and down the roster of like, all right, who am I going to absolutely chew out? And, I mean, after the first 4 games, it was most players, if we're all being honest with each other. You go down 3-1 in the series, giving up 14 goals in 2 games, which I feel like that kind of got lost in translation. We gave up 14 goals in 2 games. Granted, I know 4 of them were empty netters, but still, you barely, and I mean barely, rally back to win Game 5, but that's in your house. Congratulations. Now you have to go win on the road in Pittsburgh in Game 6. Same thing. You barely squeak one out. And then you go to Game 7, and it's back in your place, so you're going to have the momentum, and the Rangers actually would take the momentum and score first in this game. A nice play. It's a 2-on-1 with Mika Zibanejad and Chris Kreider, and Chris Kreider, I didn't know he had that kind of a slap shot in him, but boy, oh boy, he gets a pretty nice open look, and he buries it for a goal. That was redonkulous. His 5th of the series, believe it or not. Kreider really picked it up the last couple of games. But you're not out of the first period yet because Jacob Trouba takes a horrific double minor high-sticking penalty. The Rangers took 2 bad high-sticking penalties tonight that's just like, guys, you can't do that. You can't take that kind of penalties. Now, I'm going to say this about the Jacob Trouba call. Because right before that, there was a overtly obvious trip against the Penguins. I believe it was tripping Ryan Lindgren, where, I mean, it was bad. It was blindingly obvious that they tripped him, and it wasn't called. Now, the Jacob Trouba call, or penalty, cannot happen. You have got to have more control of your stick than that. That is unacceptable by Jacob Trouba. That being said, he shouldn't have been on the ice. The Rangers should have been on a power play there. However, they're not. So the Penguins are on a power play. They shoot away at it, and then Heinen puts a shot on net, and it stopped, but not. It barely goes in. Adam Fox almost made a great play on it to keep it out. It's not. It's in. It's tied 1-1, and the first period ends. And it's this super weird first period where you get the goal, you don't look terrible, but you don't look great either, and any momentum you might have had is completely lost towards the end because of that goal by Heinen. So we motor on into the second, and you get halfway through it, and another power play goal for the Penguins, and no, I'm sorry. I don't know how you can look at this and think it's a goal, right? They reviewed it thinking, oh, that's it's a high stick, and I'm looking at it and I'm like, it's goaltender interference. He clearly hits Shesterkin's glove that was going towards the puck. I thought there were 2 ways he could have called it back, and it was basically just one of those dealer choices where it's like, oh, well, that obviously isn't a goal, but instead they're like, aha, it is a goal, in fact. And I lost my mind. I've done my very best not to complain too much about officiating this series. That was a horrific call. I don't know how that goal stood as a goal. That was clearly a high stick. I thought it could have went for goaltender interference either way. I don't know how it stood. It does. It's 2-1 Penguins. And you get a sinking feeling of like, oh, we're going to lose by 1, aren't we? And this is going to be the big story of the offseason and allow the Rangers to ignore the glaring problems that we have. But the Rangers, unswayed, carry into the offensive zone. Ryan Strome has it. He passes to Andrew Kopp. Kopp cross ice over to Keandre Miller. He takes a shot. And it's off of Mike Matheson's skate and in for Keandre Miller's first career NHL playoff goal. And the Rangers tie it back up at 2. I was not joking about the honey. And then in the waning minutes of the third, the Rangers get a gift in a penalty. And you're like, all right, this is where we take the lead. We're going to go up 3-2, and we're going to carry it in. Shesterkin's playing out of his mind tonight, which, by the way, he was absolutely phenomenal. There were so many great saves. There were so many good saves by Shesterkin, but you're like, all right, we're on a power play now in the waning minutes of the second. We're going to score here, and we are going to just hold. We're going to hunker down because the defense has looked okay-ish to this point. And Philip Hedl with a horrific pass that Rodriguez intercepts, and he carries in. And then Keandre Miller is draped over him with great defense. He gets this weak little nothing shot off, and it just trickles in. It just barely gets in past Shesterkin. And I love Igor. I have been very, very kind to Shesterkin this entire playoff series. And I don't like blaming goaltenders for breakaways. That was a nothing shot, and you gotta have that. Keandre Miller, granted, he should not have had any shot at a breakaway because the Rangers should not have had that bad play. But Keandre Miller was draped over Rodriguez. The defense was there. He got a nothing shot off. Shesterkin has got to have that. Instead, they score short-handed to make it 3-2 Penguins when you really thought the Rangers were going to make it 3-2 in favor of us. And for a while, you start to get concerned because we go into the third period and the Rangers getting chances and they just can't get it done. They get power plays and they can't get it done. And you get this sinking feeling that they're about to nearly come back but lose it, and not just in Game 7, but Game 7 in MSG, and it just be a gut-wrenching loss. And then a shift. Rangers have weird mix-matched lines on the ice. It's Zibanejad, Lafreniere, and Kopp. So a player from each of our top three lines on ice together trying to get something done. And it's along the boards, and Kopp just keeps fighting for it and fighting for it and fighting for it and fighting for it. And he finally gets it just jarred a little bit loose. And Mika Zibanejad gets it on his stick and doesn't hesitate. Rips one past Tristan Jarry and scores to tie it at 3 with under 5 to play in the third. Just a hair over 5 to play, excuse me, but I'm not retaking that. My voice is already dead. And for the last few minutes of the third period and the start of overtime, it was as if time stood still whenever there was a shot on net. It felt like you could just see the puck stop dead in its tracks and just watch everyone react to it. It was horrifying. But so the final minutes tick away in the third and you head to overtime. And I said aloud, and my sister, hi Cassie, she watched it with me, can attest to it. Because I said, this is how it has to be. Because the Rangers, Game 1 of the Stanley Cup playoffs in Madison Square Garden, in overtime, lose 4-3. Where they, for 3 overtime periods, gave Shesterkin nothing offensively. And Shesterkin tonight was amazing. Again, this was the second best performance of Shesterkin's playoff. Game 1 was just something special for Igor, but this was another truly spectacular game for him. And this is the way it has to be. You rally back from down 3-1 in the series. You force Game 7 into overtime. You're going to win it. And you're going to do it in overtime 4-3 because it's the way it has to be. So you're not quite 3 minutes into overtime, and Keandre Miller with an incredible defensive play to get the puck out of our zone. He carries into the offensive zone. He's going to get a shot off, and there is a holding call, and the Rangers are going to get a power play. And the Rangers' first power play unit stayed on the ice for the entire power play until they scored. Rangers win another face-off. They're holding it in the offensive zone. Fox gives it over to Panarin. He looks, he shoots! Artemi Panarin scores 4-3 overtime winner, and Panarin, who has been a ghost in the series since Game 2, wakes up and comes through when it mattered most. And the Rangers advance to the second round. And it's beautiful. It is a beautiful, nearly perfect story on all accounts, because Penguins fans, right, they lose Game 5 and Game 6, and they're complaining and saying, oh, well, we don't have our goaltender, we don't have Sidney Crosby, of course you're going to win those games. No such luck. Crosby was in the lineup. Crosby played a lot tonight. Tristan Jarry was in net. Granted, he's been out for a while, but he was in net, and he played pretty darn okay. You know, you can't really put the last goal on Tristan Jarry. That was a massive screen by his own player, by the way. But there's no, well, yeah, buts for the Penguins. No. And the Penguins even got gifted a free goal in this game on the Gensel goal. So no. The Rangers find a way, and their star player, Artemi Panarin, who came to New York, who wanted to to be a Ranger, who wanted to win in New York. The first playoff series he wins in New York, the first real one, not counting the bubble, he wins it in Game 7 in overtime. It's perfect. It is a perfect storyline for Artemi Panarin and the New York Rangers. And the Rangers find a way in Game 7 after being down 3-1 to win the series. And now we all get to sing our favorite song. Oh, we get to ignore the problems because we won. Glaring flaws there are none. Except for the defense. The defense is a pretty big flaw, but shh. We won in Game 7. And for the Rangers, what we needed happened. The first line, again, Kreider and Mika had big games. Artemi Panarin in overtime with the big goal. The kids, I thought the kids' line looked good. They had good pressure, and Keandre Miller gets his first goal. He's one of the youngins. He's still older than me, and I'm going to call him a youngin. I don't care. He's a youngin. He gets his first goal. Shesterkin shined like one of the brightest stars in this game, which, by the way, the fact that Shesterkin, he played great, right? 42 of 45, and he might be the third star. Like, because I would assume it's Panarin, Mika, and him. Like, it's comical. He had an all-timer performance in Game 7 for the Rangers, and it's like, yeah, third star. I just checked, and the NHL didn't even give him one. Evan Rodriguez was the third star. Igor, you're the third star in my heart. And the Rangers, they advance. They move on. We've made it to the second round. I was so prepared after Game 4 to read the team the riot act after that, because it was abysmal in back-to-back games for the entirety of the team. And you give them so much credit. They found a way, and they did it. They won in 7. Down 3-1, and they win in 7. I can't believe it. I'm still feeling it. Like, I am just still on such a adrenaline rush. Like, I am so pumped out of my mind right now. Like, nothing is bringing me off of this. You now have to go play Carolina. That series is going to start either Tuesday or Wednesday. Hopefully Wednesday, so we can have a couple of nights off to recuperate after this war that was a 7-game series between us and the Penguins. I mean, that was a battle. That was a good series. That was a pretty good series. But Game 1 will be in Carolina Tuesday or Wednesday, and I'll be here afterwards to talk about it. So that's all I have to say for the evening. Thank you all so very much for watching. I hope you all have an absolutely fantastic day, and as always, go Rangers.